Thank you, everybody, for coming to the College Football Betting with Aaron Torres YouTube channel. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead, click that subscribe button. It helps our channel grow. It helps our audience grow. I appreciate it more than you know as we're talking college football on this channel year-round. Appreciate your support. Click that subscribe button. The future into Sunday night, the third top 10 matchup of the weekend. The football gods are smiling on us. Again, this is Sunday night, 7:30 Eastern, ABC. Notre Dame, number 6 in the country, traveling to number 10 Clemson. Notre Dame, a 2.5-point favorite in the Circa Sportsbook. Again, we're recording Wednesday night. Lines are always subject to change. The over-under set at 49.5. By the way, if you happen to be in that Tennessee, Kentucky area, wherever you are, Circa new sportsbook, Mint Kentucky Downs in Franklin, Kentucky. All right, let's get into this game because I'll say this. I'm going to do something I don't think that I ever would have thought that I would have said I would do at this time last year. I'm going to go ahead. Can you believe this? I'm going to defend Carson Beck. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into this game because to me, I think you can argue Carson Beck is the most interesting player in all of college football. Okay. We just talked about it with some of the guys that were projected as super high picks that it didn't work out with. Carson Beck regressed last year. I think there is zero doubt in my mind. But I will say this. I think we're starting to kind of overcorrect a little bit on Carson Beck. He was not good last year. But guess what? You know what his stats were? 28 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, about 67% completion percentage, 68% completion percentage. That was a down year for Carson Beck. Now, I know what you could say. Well, guess what? It's Georgia. You need to be better. Okay. Georgia's wide receivers also led college football in drops. That is a fact. And Georgia, post Carson Beck, spent a lot of their NIL money revamping that wide receiver room. Oh, by the way, the O-line, Kirby Smart even admitted, was not to Georgia standards. So some of it falls on Carson Beck, I'm sure. The counter to that is he probably gets too much blame for how bad Georgia, how Georgia's season went last year. And then to the part about it being bad, let's not forget Georgia 10-2 against arguably the toughest schedule in college football, win at Texas, win over Texas in the SEC championship game. I understand, of course, that Carson Beck did not play that entire game, but I just bring it up because I think he's getting a little bit of a bad rap. And by the way, this isn't a Georgia segment. I think people are forgetting that Georgia's the defending SEC champ. People aren't talking about them in that manner. So I'm a Carson Beck believer. Now, I will say it is also worth noting he is coming off major elbow surgery. But the thing I'll say, this offense is designed plug and play. We saw what Cam Ward did last year. Not saying Carson Beck is going to be Cam Ward. Not saying he's going to win a Heisman. But what I am saying is Shannon Dawson's that dude. He gets quarterbacks ready, should be ready to go. And it's not like Carson Beck, not just for this game, but for pretty much any game he plays. It's not like he's not going to have talent around him. At the running back spot, yes, Damian Martinez is gone, 7th-round pick in the NFL. Mark Fletcher is back. Name to remember, Chamar Brown, transfer from North Dakota State. I know there's a lot of excitement about him. The receiver room, a lot of newish faces. Obviously, Restrepo has gone to the NFL after last year, but JoJo Trader is a former 5-star. CJ Daniels, transfer from LSU. The late addition of Keelan Marion from BYU. He's a wide receiver / kind of return man. But yeah, plenty of talent around him. Francis Mauioga is going to be a top 10 pick on the O-line. So yeah, Carson Beck is not going to have to do it alone, not only on Sunday night, but for the entire season. The issue with Miami, it's the defense. Defense was not good last year. Defense, again, a little bit of we talked about Jaden Daniels and the Heisman Trophy 2 years ago. Kind of the same with Cam Ward a year ago. I know Cam didn't win the Heisman Trophy, but he was the number 1 overall pick. The defense kind of cost them a legitimate shot at making a real run towards a championship. Simply not good enough. 70th in scoring defense, 57th in pass defense. And that is where most of the work was done, to say the least, in the transfer portal this last offseason. Plenty of talent back along the defensive front. Akeem Mesidor's back, Ruben Bain's back, Ahmad Moten back. But the secondary is where the pieces have come in. Xavier Lucas, you may remember that name. He came from Wisconsin. Miami's currently getting sued over his transfer. That's another conversation for another day. Charles Brantley, corner from Michigan State. Zachariah Poisier played at Jacksonville State under Rich Rodriguez last year. So a lot of new pieces in that secondary, and that is going to be the $1 million question. That is going to be the $1 million question that's going to be the $1 million question for Miami is how is that secondary and really how is the defense, again, like so many others, change at the coordinator spot. They were great on offense, not nearly good enough on defense. Corey Heatherman is the new defensive coordinator. By the way, I was thinking about this before the show. There is 1,000% chance that I will call him Corey Weatherman at some point this season. Please forgive me. I'm an idiot, and you will be making fun of me when I do that. Notre Dame side of things. Okay. Notre Dame, like Miami, quarterback making his first start in their uniform. The major difference is this is not a sixth-year senior like Carson Beck, but instead a redshirt freshman who has never thrown a ball in a Notre Dame uniform, CJ Carr. So I think that's a big variable a lot of people are talking about. The one thing I will say about the CJ Carr experience, what keeps coming back to me, there's a lot of focus on the fact that he's never thrown a college pass. I get that, okay? My counter to that would be, I think this is kind of an interesting point, and I've thought about this a lot. Notre Dame, clearly, they're a program that's not afraid to take a transfer quarterback if they don't think they have the guy. You may remember Riley Leonard last year. You may remember Sam Hartman the year before. But Notre Dame had 2 portal cycles, and not only did they not take a portal quarterback, they actually lost Steve Angeli, his backup, to the portal when it was clear he wasn't going to win that job. And so to me, look at Nico Iamaleava, right? When he entered the portal, people thought, could Notre Dame be a factor? They weren't. That probably means that Notre Dame feels pretty good about the quarterback spot. And the good thing for CJ Carr, he is not going to have to do it alone. Plenty of talent around him. Jeremiah Love may be the best running back in college football. 17 touchdowns last season, 7 yards per carry. I know 17 touchdowns came in 16 games played. Doesn't change the fact that that's incredible. Then what I think is important, maybe the deepest wide receiver room that Notre Dame has kind of had in this Brian Kelly, Marcus Freeman-ish era. Jaden Greathouse back, 42 catches a year ago. Jordan Faison, the great lacrosse player as well, 30 catches. And then remember out of the portal, Malachi Fields, 800 yards, 5 TDs a season ago. Will Pauling, 2 years ago at Wisconsin, 74 catches, almost like what I said about Carson Beck a minute ago. Numbers dipped last year. He still had over 40 catches with 3 touchdowns. When your down season is 40 catches with 3 TDs, it means you're pretty darn good. As far as the Notre Dame defense is concerned, listen, this to me is a little bit under-discussed, okay? So again, we talked about a new defensive coordinator at Miami. Corey Heatherman, not to be confused with Corey Weatherman, who's not a real person. New defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator at Ohio State. New offensive play caller at Alabama, which we'll discuss coming up. Same at Florida State. I don't know how many people realize Al Golden, the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, is gone to the NFL. He is now the defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals, and in comes Chris Ash, okay? I think this is a little bit like what we talked about with Matt Patricia. I'm not here to make the Matt Patricia jokes, but I have questions about his ability to adjust. And with Chris Ash, he was obviously a college coordinator and a college head coach. He's been in the NFL the last few years. The last time he called plays, the 2020 season at Texas. If you don't remember, that was Tom Herman's last season. They got fired. Defense wasn't very good that year. Wasn't terrible, but wasn't very good. And so as we look at the pick for this Notre Dame-Miami game, I'm going to go ahead and take the over of 49.5 in the Circus Sportsbook. The over-under is 49.5. I am going to take the over. Again, lines are always subject to change. This game is until Sunday. We're recording Wednesday night. Always like to say that. Why do I like the over? It's pretty straightforward. I mean, let's just do some mental math here. I understand we have 2 new quarterbacks, but they're not going to have to do it alone. I told you I'm a Carson Beck believer. And CJ Carr, Jeremiah Love, great wide receiver room. And I didn't even mention it, but we know it's an elite offensive line. It always is at Notre Dame. But I think the questions come on the defensive side of the ball for both teams. 2 new coordinators at Miami. It's worth noting a lot of new players as well. And so again, I never claim to know more than the coordinators or the coaches or the position coaches or whatever, but let's call a spade a spade. Let's be honest. Let's have a discussion. when you talk about Miami, an entirely new secondary, and I know they've had all spring and all summer and all fall camp, but an entirely new secondary, 4 new players, 4 different programs, 4 whatever, that are all going to be under the bright lights together with a new coordinator for the first time on Sunday night. Notre Dame. Listen, it's not a bash Chris Ash segment. Say that 10 times fast. Woo, be a tough one. Bash Chris Ash. I can't even say it one time fast. This isn't bashing the new defensive coordinator. But again, 5 years since he's called plays, replaced one of the elite coordinators in college football, and you're going up against a 6th-year quarterback in Carson Beck. And call me crazy. I'm a little bit worried about their ability to get stops as well, certainly to the degree that they did last year. The other thing with Notre Dame, this is going to sound like a backhanded compliment, but I'm just going to say it as a fact, is Notre Dame led college football in turnovers forced last year, 33 in 16 games. That is an insane stat, something they should be absolutely proud of. It's hard to replicate that kind of production. Turnovers forced, turnover margin is kind of one of those stats that year over year, there's big discrepancies because just because you were graded at one year doesn't necessarily mean you'll be great the next year. So if they go from, first nationally to 21st nationally, that's still a great season, but it's not what they were doing. Fewer possessions, fewer short fields, whatever. This isn't a season-long prediction. This is Saturday. I like the over of 49.5. I think, even a 28-24 type game gets us there. Yes, there's going to be a lot of running of the football, but I think there's going to be big plays. I think there's going to be, explosive in the pass game. I like the over in this game.